Welcome everybody to both sides of the conversation. Tonight is our Educational Thursdays. We are coming back with some more information, the sauce for the community. As you guys know, we transitioned to this new platform, so we had a couple of bugs we're trying to work out. Hopefully, Art will be able to get his presentation up. But just want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We should have a phenomenal educational experience tonight. Art is going to be going over some financial things. You know, here at both sides of the conversation, we want our people to get the essential information that they need to set themselves up for financial prosperity. And Art's gonna be here to give you some tips, some information on how to build that wealth. So just excited about that. I mean, it's been a lovely day. Just want to say shout out to Mega Black and Cheryl Davis today. We was on the call with Lettucey today. What a powerful, powerful sister. I had to go out support, grab the album, grab the book, support our locals, support our black business. That's what we do here. That's what we believe here at both sides of the conversation. Make sure we support our own because that's the only way we're going to build true wealth and unity in our community. And we got to bless each other and make sure that we're doing the proper things to grow. So with that being said, we're going to get ready to turn it over to our brother Art in a second. We'll try to get this PowerPoint up. My brother Art is a financial coach. He's a businessman. He's dedicated to helping our community, helping families become more to earn more with their incomes, protect themselves from getting in debt, and making sure that they're financially independent. I mean, that's just like how powerful this brother is. Just trying to make sure that our community has all the education that they need behind this. I mean, you know, that's one thing that I teach. This brother's always dropping jewels and gems about stocks and investing all the time, doing his thing around the Bay Area, helping out our people, man. And that's what it's all about. So with that being said, I'm going to bring my brother Art up and let him teach y'all what he know about this financial thing. And we'll see if we can get these slides up and make this thing happen. Art, you there?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Turn your camera on, brother. I think your camera jumped off.
Uh, it says it's enabled,
Click the. Is it a red line? Click in between the red lines.
and now it's no red line there. It says
Uh-oh.
my camera.
Let's see
Hey,
here. Uh oh. Let's see here. Why is it doing that? Let's see here. Why is it doing that? All right, let's see here. Hold on a second. Hey, Art, you want to try to? Can you try to log out and come back in? I'll just
sure. Let me do that right
yeah,
now.
try to log out and come back in. Well, while Art's trying to get back in, as you guys can see, there's some technical difficulties. I mean, it's always something at both sides of the conversation, but this new platform is definitely taking us some time to get used to. A lot of different changes than just being on Zoom. So we'll try to get Art back in here and see if we can get this thing going shortly. All right, there you go. There you go.
Okay.
That's our brother. That's our brother right there. Man,
Yeah.
sorry about the confusion. Let's see if we can get those slides up.
Uh,
Um,
that's all good.
while we trying to get the slides up, Art, if you want to go ahead and talk to the people and let them know a little bit about you, why this financial thing is so important to you,
Hmm.
and you know all the things that you're doing because you're doing a lot of things. I know
Yeah.
you got your hands in the sauce everywhere, so go on and let the people know what you're doing, brother.
Right, right. Like John has stated, my name is Art Burton. I am a financial coach. I've been working in finance probably for about 13 plus years. I used to be a broker in San Francisco. And one of the reasons I stepped away from that job, because when you are a broker and you work for a financial institution, there's a certain criteria that clients have to meet in order for you to help them. And I realized I was helping more wealthy white folks than I was helping my people. So I had to transition to a company that will allow me to help the person who got $100 to invest to the person who got $1 million to invest. So today is all about trying to help my people build their financial freedom. And that's kind of like what we're going to talk about today.
All right, all right. Well, I see the slides up. Let's see if we can get this thing in. I'm gonna back you out, pull up the slides, and let's see if we can get through this. And as we start, as you start going through the presentation, the people that's on our YouTube and our Facebook page, they'll start submitting questions if they have any, and
Mm.
I'll definitely put them up on the screen as they come through, as they come in, and you can answer to them. But let's try to get through the presentation first, and then we can deal with those questions. So I'm gonna put your screen up here,
Mm.
and we could go ahead. They can hear you in the background, and then we could just go ahead and press through it.
Okay, cool. So we could go to the next slide, please. And we could go to the next slide. Could you go to the next slide, please? All right. So as I stated, oh, she went too far. Could you go back one? Uh, Go forward one. Okay, right here. So as I stated earlier, when I was a broker, it was a certain criteria I had to work with. And when I joined Primerica, or the PFS investment side of Primerica, it allowed me to be able to work with people on any level. And as you can see here in this slide, while many financial professionals are interested in working with the middle class, Primerica has been committed to helping Main Street families save and invest for their future since 1977. And that was real key for me, aligning myself with this company. Could you go to the next slide, please? You can go, keep going, please.
You want that slide, or you want to go to the
Yeah,
next one?
she can keep going. They can keep going. Because I just want to kind of get into the meat of what we're going to go about. And we can stop right here at today's financial challenges. And as you can see, 40% of workers and or their spouse have less than $25,000 in total savings and investments, and 19% have less than $1,000 in savings. When you think of the working class in the United States, that number is even higher when you consider that over 60% of Americans have less than $1,000 in savings. Could you go to the next challenge?
That's the slide you want?
No. So it should have listed two other challenges, two other financial challenges that people are faced with today. So you have this one. There's going to be another one.
Art. I
Yeah,
think the
it's
way
just not.
the layout is, it's only giving us those six.
Yeah, there's like 20 some slides, and I see they're not even going in the correct sequence. And it's still not allowing me to share my screen.
Yeah. So Art. So I guess the way the layout is giving it is not going in the order that is sent over. Um,
Yeah, it's just a basic PowerPoint, so it should literally go in the. Yeah, if you want to leave it like this and just select the slides, that'll probably work better. And I know it's kind of small for people to see, but if the person just click it in the order, that'd be great. So like if she goes back to slide number 5 or 4, was it 5? I think we left off on. Um, yeah, we could. Okay. Well, this is just showing some of the services that I provide to clients and businesses.
Hey, Art, she gonna try to leave it here because it's not letting us do it that way. Just tell her what slide you
Okay,
want to go to.
that's fine. So if she could just go back to, I believe that's slide number 6, and we could just start from there, right there. Okay, that's fine. So I'm sorry that we got off to such a slow start with the presentation and things like that. But I'm gonna try my best just to get through this, and hopefully I don't go too fast. But when you think about your finances, most people don't plan to fail; they just fail to plan. And as you can see, you being in the center of your finances, your money typically goes everywhere. You have mortgage, credit cards, you have loans, life insurance, you got investments, bank accounts, so on and so forth. And when you don't have a plan for that money, you could tend to lose track of where everything is going. Slide number 7. And it goes back to our financial challenges. Less than half workers report that they and their spouse have not tried to calculate how much money they will need to have saved by the time they retire so that they can live comfortably in retirement. You know, retirement should not be one of those things where it has to be far off in the future. But what happens is people don't have a plan. And when you don't have a plan, you planning to fail. And so what I try to do with my clients is make sure that I put them on a proper plan in order for them to reach their goals and our objectives. You know, saving money and investing money are not the same thing. When you save money, you're saving it for something later. And when you're investing money, you're hoping that it accumulates and grows for something to meet an objective. Next slide. And these are typically the investment phases of everybody's life. Between the ages of 18 and 55, you're in what we call your accumulation phase. You're trying to accumulate as much wealth as possible. Every job that you get, every year that you're working, your pay typically goes up. So 18 and 55 is your accumulation phase. Between the ages of 55 and 65, you're trying to preserve that wealth that you have accumulated over those years of working. And then distribution phase is when you need to distribute that money to provide you income in retirement, or income when you want to become financially free. Let's not use the word retirement no more. Let's just use the word financially free. The next slide. How most people save currently, say you invested $10,000 and got a 1% rate of return at your local bank. Most people save their money in the bank. There's nothing wrong with that. The bank is going to guarantee that your money is not going to never go down. The problem with that is the bank gives you 1% for that year. Do you earn $100, but you pay $25 in taxes on that interest. So your net earnings is only $75. Your resulting balance would be $10,075. But due to inflation, you lost what we call purchasing power. Purchasing power is when your money is not growing fast enough to keep up with inflation. So in this scenario, you have actually lost purchasing power. The next slide, please. And this is the problem. Most people get their money and it goes to the traditional banking institution. But what the bank does with your money is take your money and leverage it out to earn interest. And it comes in the form of loaning it out for credit cards or car loans, mortgages, so on and so forth. So typically your money goes to you, you put into your traditional financial institution, and then that financial institution then puts it into the global economy. What we try to teach people is become an owner, not a loaner. When you get your money, now we're trying to teach you how to invest it into the global economy. And as you can see, saving accounts, CDs, and cash value life insurance historically have a low interest rate. Next slide, please. The rule of 72 is just a simple calculation that basically gives you an approximate years it take your money to double. So if you look at the average interest rate in a bank, it takes I think they give you right now is like a 0.25% interest. So based off of the rule of 72, it's going to take your money a long time to double in the bank. So when we invest or we teach our clients about investing, the objective is to meet different goals. Some investments you see an average of 4% rate of return. Some you see 6%, and some you see 12. But just focusing on that 6%, if your money was a double, if your money was getting 6% rate of return every 12 years, your money would double. Next slide, please. And this is just showing you how a one-time investment of $10,000, depending on your risk tolerance and depending on how your money was invested, how many years it would take to double. So if we go look at a 4% of return, your money will double every 18 years versus the 12% return where your money will double every 6 years. So when you're building your wealth and you're trying to accumulate wealth in that scenario about your accumulation phase between the ages of 18 and 55, there's almost 3 years. I mean, not 3 years, but 3 times your money could double if you were getting a 12% rate of return. So the objective is when you are in your accumulation phase to make sure your money is actually growing versus just sitting there idle and not growing at all. Next slide, please. And this is just showing you how 10,000 investment between the year of 1989 to 2019, how it would have performed if it was invested in invested 4 different ways. If it was invested into the S&P 500 over that same time frame, a one-time $10,000 investment would have grew to $172,000. If it was invested into a bond, it would have grew to $56,000. T-bills, $22,000, and the U.S. inflation over that same time period was 2.4%. So once again, if you had that $10,000 in your bank, you will be losing purchasing power over that last 30 years and you would have been missing out on growth. So when you see how money could grow and how your money could work for you, you don't really have the opportunity not to take these type of risks in order for your money to grow. Now, everybody have different risk tolerances. And when I sit down with my clients, my objective is to figure out what is their risk tolerance, figure out what their objectives are, and then put a plan together that fits their needs versus just saying, hey, this is what you need to do because so-and-so is doing it. Every client has unique needs. Some people want to just save money to go take a trip around the world, and that's fine. And what I do is we help put together a strategy that makes sure that they have the money necessary to go take that trip around the world. Saving money and investing money is not just to be there. It's to meet different needs and objectives. I have some clients who objective is I want to have enough money for a down payment on a house. Sure, you could save that money in your bank account, but if your money was least growing, you could accomplish that goal a lot sooner versus in a time period it might take if you just was saving it in the bank. So what kind of return do you need to reach your goals? And that's a question most people don't know the answer to. And they don't know the answer because they never had to sit down and think about like, man, I need my money to grow 6% over the next 10 years for me to hit a goal. They just think like, I'm just going to put this money aside and it's going to do what I hope it to do. My job is to make sure that we meet those objectives. Next slide, please. And this is just showing you, how long-term benefits the investor. I know we hear a lot of things that's going on online and everybody's an investment advisor. Everybody want to day trade and things like that. And the problem with people is not making money. Making money is actually very easy to do. The problem is a lot of people don't know how to build wealth. So here you have all these people using these various apps to trade and buy stocks and so on and so forth. And in the process, they're making good money, but they're not building wealth, and those are two totally different things. You can get a job and make money, but building wealth requires you to have a plan, requires you to have goals, require you to have you have discipline and other things that go along with building wealth. But this is just showing you different time periods. If someone was investing money, the likelihood of them losing or having a loss. So if we just focus on 1 year period and 20-year period, as you can see, if you had your money invested for a 1 year period, there's a 15 negative periods in that 1 year of investing. So what that means is if you just looked at 1 year over the last 30 years, there's a likelihood of you would have had a negative return that year versus someone who was just looking at it from a 20-year perspective. Over a 20-year time period, the likelihood of you having a positive return at the end of those 20 years is a 100% chance. And that's the thing about investing for the long term. There's things you can invest in on the short term They can also be real conservative where you're not really facing losses. But with any investment, there's a chance of loss. Next slide, please. One of the most effective long-term investment vehicles is mutual funds. And some people have pros and cons about mutual funds, but most people don't realize that their job that they have a 401k at have mutual funds. People who work for the city and county who have a 457 plan, guess what? They have mutual funds. And mutual funds is probably the easiest and most affordable way to start your investment journey. If you want to buy individual stocks, but you only had $50 to invest, but you wanted to go acquire a stock that costed $100, and guess what? Your $50 will not allow you to acquire that $100 stock. So what a mutual fund is basically a pooled investment, meaning there's thousands of other people who are investing into this fund. The money is then professionally managed, and those professional money managers then take those funds and determine which assets should be put into the fund to achieve a stated objective. So a stated objective could be growth or aggressive growth, or another stated objective could be conservative growth or moderate growth. All right. Next slide, please. Mutual funds earn money three ways: dividends, capital gains, and capital appreciation. Next slide, please. 5 great reasons to own a mutual fund. So I think I mentioned affordability already. I think I mentioned professional money management. I've mentioned growth potential, but let's talk about 2 and 5. Diversification. The easiest way to explain diversification is if I had a basket of 100 eggs and I dropped that basket, the likelihood of me breaking all those eggs are pretty high. So that's what you would call like an individual stock. But with a mutual fund, think of diversification as I had 10 baskets and I had 10 eggs in each one of those baskets. If I drop 3 of those baskets, the most I could ever lose is 30 eggs. So that's kind of the easiest way to break down diversification. Like Mama said, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? But the other flip side about diversification is the performance of different assets. So when one asset is going up, another asset may be going down, and then vice versa. That's true diversification. If all your stocks are going up together and then they go down together, they're not diverse at all. And then liquidity. Mutual funds, since they own the shares, when you want to sell your mutual funds, the mutual fund company has to buy them back. And by law, they have to send you a check within 7 days. So that's the liquidity of it. Next slide, please. Systematic investing. And let me know if I'm going too fast. I don't see no questions yet, so I guess I'm doing good. But I think earlier I stated how when you have a job, and you invest into your 401k, that money comes out every check, regardless if the market is up or down. Every check, a portion of your check is going towards your 401k. And the benefit of that is systematic investing. And as you can see, investor A and investor B are 2 investors, and they both investing systematically. Investor A is investing when the market is going up, while investor B is investing when the market is going down and up. So when you looked at the beginning of 2020 and everything was going haywire and people was like, oh, I got to sell, I got to do this, I got to do that. But if you were systematic investing, your money would actually went further when the market was down. So this is just highlighting how 2 investors are investing at 2 different intervals of their investment life. One is investing when it's going up, not able to acquire as many shares. One is investing when the market is going up and down. So as you can see, investor B over that same 6-month period was able to acquire 126 shares versus investor B was only able to acquire 42. What ends up happening is the average cost per share is going to be significantly lower when someone is investing when the market is down. It's sort of like if you bought a house and a house was in a down year and it was $50,000, but then 2 years later, it's now $100,000, right? That's the same thing that happens when you're investing into a market when the prices are going down. So systematic investing is like the easiest way to start accumulating shares. You have to be a hoarder of buying shares. And that's kind of like one of the issues when you have apps that allow you to buy stocks. You're not really putting together a plan. You buy it and it goes up. You feel like, oh man, I did something. I bought it at $10. Now it's at $30. But if you don't own 1,000 of those shares, then it's like, well, what did you really accomplish? You made money. You didn't build wealth. Systematic investing will allow you to do both. You can make money, but ultimately you're going to build wealth. Next slide, please. You can go to the next slide. So 2020 in March, when everything just hit the fan. And it's funny, like I called my clients and I'm telling them, oh, this is what's going on, so on and so forth. All my clients, for the most part, said, man, don't call me, man. I think with my head, not with the headlines. And they all have objectives and goals than me. And if you needed your money in 2020, then your thought process would have been a lot different versus someone who needs the money 5 years from now. So what this is just showing you is an illustration of investing in December 31st, 1989, that $10,000 into December 31st of 2019. And what it's showing you is all the different things that were happening throughout those 30 years. That when people seen these things happening, they were pulling their money out or were doing this or doing that. But if they just would have left it alone and waited for it to meet their goals, then they would have had success. So here it is. There have been plenty of reasons not to invest in the stock market over the last years. But for long-term investors, the results have been generally positive over time. If you invested $10,000 in the stock market on December 31st, 1989, and left it in a market, even when the news was bad, 30 years later, your investment would have grown to $172,000. That's a 9.96% average rate of return. Next slide, please. This slide is literally showing you how that $10,000 went up and down. 1990, it was down 3%. 1991 is up 30%. 92 up 7%. 98, 28%. But then look at the Y2K scare, 9/11, and Enron crisis. You got 2000, 2001, 2002. 3 back-to-back-to-back bad years. But if you didn't touch it and left it in, look what happened in 2003. Look what happened in 2004. Look what happened in 2005. Look what happened in 2006, 2007. And then boom, 2008 came along. I remember hearing a lot of clients say, man, my auntie lost all her money in 2008. And I'm thinking like, well, depending on how she was invested, she probably only lost 20%. But for someone who doesn't have money, 20% could seem like a whole lot of money. But if that auntie did not change her strategy and just left the money in there, look what happened in 2009. Look what happened in 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, so on and so forth. 2018 was the next down year. And then boom, 2019. Next slide, please. Next slide. So I already touched on diversification. I gave you a breakdown of the eggs in a basket, and then I also gave you a breakdown about some of your stocks going down when some of them are going up as being a true diversification strategy. And as you look at this graph, and I know it's probably hard for everybody to see, but if we focus on 2008, I know it's very small, but 2008 was that housing market crash and things like that. So if you look at what performed bad during those years, during that year, you have international stocks down over 40%. You had large cap stocks down over 37%. You have small cap stocks down over 36%. But if you were invested into long-term government bonds during 2008, you would have a positive outcome. So once again, it goes back to being diversified. It goes back to having stated objectives and goals and making sure your risk tolerance is being assessed so you can know how you need to be investing. So if someone was losing money in 2008 and they changed their investment strategy to line up with long-term government bonds, then guess what? They probably would have been able to save more majority of their money versus having to invest into the international stocks. And you can skip down to slide 28. And this is showing you the same illustration. And if you look at 2008 as well, if you're being ultra conservative and your money was invested in T-bills, and guess what? You would have had a positive return. And that 1.7% is still better than what the banks give you. And a lot of people don't notice that certain banks give you great interest rates until you have a certain amount of money in there. Then they change it. I had a client who had her money invested into this one bank that was giving her like 4.5% on her first $3,500 that's in her account. Once she got over 3,500, it went from that 4.5% down to 1%. Once she got to $10,000, it went from that 1% to 0.25%. So not even a whole percent. And when that happens, you got to think about, what is the bank doing with my money? If originally they could have gave me 4.5% and then 1%, but now they're giving me a fraction of a percent, because the banks are smart. They understand that as long as you're not taking risks, they're going to take your money and take all the risk and earn those 30%, those 40%, those 60% on your dollars, while they're giving you a punk ass 0.25%. Next slide, please. Take advantage of tax deferred savings. A lot of people don't understand, when they are buying and selling their stocks on these different apps, there are tax implications. Now, I must make the disclaimer that I'm not a tax advisor, so please consult your tax advisor. But there are tax implications when you sell anything in the US. You buy a house for $100,000, you sell it for $200,000. Guess what? You got to pay some taxes on that $100,000 you just made. And here's just showing you how to take advantage of tax deferred savings. If you invested $10,000 per year for 30 years at a 9% rate of return and a tax deferred, and all tax deferred means you're deferring paying the taxes today. That means you have to pay them later. But in a tax deferred account, your money grows a lot faster than it would in a taxable account. In a taxable account, you're experiencing paying taxes every year on that money. So you're losing out on that. But guess what? Down the road, you don't have to pay taxes on it. Next slide, please. And this is probably one of my favorite slides, because I come across clients who are in their 30s and their 20s and their 40s and their 50s, and they have young children, and their young children are either teenagers or young adults. And when I see this slide every time, I always think about, man, when I was 21 years old, if I just started putting away $100 a month for the next, years, look how much money I could have accumulated. But guess what? My mom didn't have the education to tell me these things. My mom made good money, but she didn't have an understanding of how money works. She didn't understand investing or none of those things. So most of our peers and most of our friends are getting an education from YouTube University, which is nothing wrong with that, or Instagram University, or hey, even on both sides of the conversation. So people are acquiring knowledge from a lot of different vehicles. But this vehicle right here is telling your child who's 16 years old, who want to have a job, just to buy the things they want to buy. If you was able to articulate to them like, hey, son, hey, daughter, from every paycheck you get, you need to invest $100 a month. And if they invested that $100 a month and they got a 9% rate of return at the age of 27, if they started this program, just think about that, age 27 versus age 21. And they started that program, and they did that until they turned 67, that same 27-year-old will have over $471,000. But if that 21-year-old or that 27-year-old delayed starting that program and waited till they were 28, they would have lost out on $41,000. Hell, like most people, I'm going to wait till I'm older. I'm going to wait till I'm making more money to start saving and investing. They wait till they're 32, they would have lost out on $175, or $175,000. And if they waited till they're 42 years old, they would have lost out on $358,000. So when I say they would have lost out, it's because each year you delay investing, time is not on your side no more. So remember how we looked at that one slide where it had the 1 year period of investing and the positive returns and the negative returns versus the 20-year investor? The 20-year investor has time on their side, so their money is allowed to experience only positive growth, versus someone who starts and only has a 10-year window. A 10-year window, you may have 5 negative years in that 10-year window, and you missing out because you started so late. So this slide right here, like I said, is probably one of my best points of this presentation, because when you see it this way, and you got to look at yourself like, man, well, what the hell am I saving every month? Damn, if I would have started saving, man. You don't realize when you wait, you have to save more in order to achieve that financial freedom. Go to the next slide, please. And this is probably the best illustration of starting early and then sitting back. Here it is, someone 22 years old started saving $6,000 a year. And I know you probably think like, man, most 22-year-olds are not making that type of money. Okay, that's fine. But if I'm saving 250 as a 22-year-old and my mom or my dad is also helping me with 250 a month and I'm putting that aside, that's $500 a month, that's $6,000 a year. But the 22-year-old who starts doing this and did it for the next 7 years, they would have invested $73,000 versus investor B who waits until they're 30 to start doing that same thing. Investor A, since they started early, time is on their side. So they would have invested $48,000 over that 7-year period. And by the age of 67, that money would have grew to $2.2 million versus an investor B who waited till they were 30 years old to start saving $500 a month. I mean, I talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people is always saying they want to delay their savings. And delaying savings or investing has more so to do with your money management. A lot of people don't do budgets, and when they do a budget, they do it one time and don't realize their spending habits may change, or they occurred a new bill, a new expense, or they start making more money, so they start spending more money. But doing a budget will allow you to know where you are and how you can actually start saving this amount of money every month. Next slide, please. And this is critical to know which type of investor you are. Going back to the eggs in a basket, I gave the analogy, if you buying one particular stock, you're literally putting all your eggs in that one basket. So you benefit when it's going up and you lose out when it's going down. But the only way we could determine what's suitable for you as an investor is, asking the right type of questions, figuring out what your objectives are, and then putting a plan together that does fit those needs. So someone who's typically conservative, their money is typically invested into what we call income funds or bond funds. Bonds are real conservative. It's an emphasis on safety. A bond is a debt security. When you buy a bond, someone is indebted to you. All right. So for those who live in California who's watching this, there's a California bond. For those who live in the Bay Area, guess what? There's a Bay Bridge bond. So when you buy those bonds, they typically have a duration. All right. So that duration could be 20 years. But each year, that bond may have a stated interest or nominal yield, and that yield may be 6%. So if the bond costs $1,000, you buy one bond. Every year they're going to give you 6% on that $1,000. So that's how a bond works, right? But if you're a moderate investor, you typically invest into a large cap fund or a balanced fund. A balanced fund is a mixture of both income and growth funds. So it's trying to keep you balanced, basically. And then large caps are companies who are pretty big, and their valuations is $10 billion or more. So when you think of a large cap fund, think of Apple. People are not really investing into Apple because it's going to have a whole lot of volatility. It's more so for the safety of the company. And then when you're an aggressive investor, you're investing in aggressive equity funds. These are smaller cap companies who are on the rise. So you're taking more risk investing into these type of companies. So in turn, your money typically has a lot of volatility with it. But if you invest into the right one, guess what? It could take off. So lower risk, low reward. Higher risk, high reward. I think everybody kind of understands that philosophy, right? Next slide, please. And this is just breaking down what type of investor you are by just giving you a definition, right? So I'm just going to focus on a moderate, because a lot of times I meet clients and they say they are a moderate investor. Then I start asking questions, trying to define their objectives and things like that and where they want to go. And in reality, most of them are aggressive, but they don't like the ideal of potentially losing money. So most clients always say they're moderate. But a moderate investor, the portfolio is appropriate for investors whose primary objective is long-term capital appreciation and to whom current income is of secondary importance. A moderate growth investor is willing to tolerate short-term price fluctuations. So a moderate, if you invested last year into a moderate fund, the first 6 months of 2020, you probably would have seen your money, dip down a lot versus someone who's an aggressive fund. The reason being because once the market started turning around, those aggressive funds were able to start going up a lot quicker than a moderate fund. All right. The assets in this portfolio are a mix of equities and fixed income securities with a higher weighting towards equities. Next, man, pay yourself first. It sounds so simple, but guess what? A lot of people don't pay themselves, and a lot of people treat themselves. There's nothing wrong with treating yourself, but I try to tell clients if you treat yourself more than you pay yourself, then you're missing out. I get it that you had a rough week and you want to go party and go do this and go do that. I'm not knocking no one for having fun, but just make sure you having that much fun with investing your money as well. And the simple way I try to explain to my clients is if you take yourself out and you spend money on, let's just say, going out to eat, that could be $100. But if you didn't invest $100 that same week, then your priorities are messed up. But if you're paying yourself and treating yourself more than you are actually paying yourself, then once again, you're not building wealth. You're making good money and making money. You're not building wealth. So pay yourself first is how you build wealth. Rule of thumb: save 10% of your income. If you live in the Bay Area, I know it's difficult, but guess what? It could be done. And the easiest way to figure out how you can save 10% of your income is doing a budget, finding out what you could cut back on to make up that 10%. Treat paying yourself like a bill. Every month you pay your rent or your mortgage. Every month you pay your car note. Every month you pay your car insurance. You pay all these bills every month without blinking your eye. Treat paying yourself the same way. And the best way to do is have it automatically come out of your account, out of sight, out of mind. You don't have to purposely do it. And then set up a complete savings program with 3 fundamental accounts. Every client I work with, the goal is to have them set up their 3 fundamental accounts because that gives a strategy for every dollar that's being invested. Your emergency account is, guess what? For emergencies. A savings account is not an emergency. The reason why I said it because your savings account is typically tied directly to your bank account. And anything that's tied directly to your bank account means you can easily move it from that savings to checking to go, have an impulse buy. Shit, I do a lot of impulse buying too, but guess what? I pay myself a whole lot to be able to do that as well. So an emergency fund is typically something that's not tied to your traditional savings account. The objective for that emergency fund is have 3 months of your income saved up. Your short-term account is for short-term needs. And just think about 2020 when people were losing their jobs or wages were reduced, or hours were reduced, and all these things were happening. If you had 6 months of your income saved up, and let's just say you were high risk to catch COVID-19, just think of how easy it would have been for you to look at your job and say, hey, bro, I'm not coming in. When you have 6 months of your income, that it removes that unnecessary anxiety, especially what people were suffering through 2020. If you have 6 months of your income saved up and your job said, well, if you can't come in, you're going to miss out on pay. Like, shit, I got 6 months of my income. I'm not tripping. You're looking at the pandemic a whole lot differently when you are prepared financially. And as a business professional, 2020, I made just about close to almost 3 times as much as I made in 2019. Not because I did anything different, but because a lot of people start taking their finances a lot serious when they realize they were doing it all wrong. And then the last account I typically set up for clients is wealth building account, which is for your financial freedom, your college savings. It's basically your long-term savings. Next slide, please. And here it is, just breaking it down for you guys. Next slide. And one way for me to be able to know where you're at, I do a complimentary. So if you don't know what complimentary means, it means free financial plan for those who are interested in seeing where they're at. And what it covers is it covers 5 different areas: debt strategy, tax strategy, income protection strategy, wealth building strategy, and then education strategies. Next slide. And the last slide I'm gonna leave you guys with is just basically setting up your program. And when I set up your program, we implement your investment plan and help you start paying yourself first. We go over those 3 fundamental accounts or any other objectives and goals that you might have. We start with eliminating debt. I know this slide didn't really go over debt, but debt is the #1 threat to your financial freedom. If I was able to share my screen, I was going to share a budget template, and it was going to show someone with their budget without me including their debt, how they had this surplus of money to be able to save and invest. But once you calculate someone's car note, their credit cards, other miscellaneous debt, student loan debt, and things like that, you realize that debt ate into their surplus, so they were not able to reach their goals and objectives. So, and then the last thing is just ensure your income, and that comes in the form of, typically when someone is married, you should have life insurance. Even if you're not married, you had children, you should have life insurance. Even if you don't have children, you should still have life insurance, because in our culture, and I'm just speaking for, being a African American, we have a lot of deaths, but we don't ever have a lot of wealth transfers. And when I meet with clients and they have children and they don't get life insurance, it always puzzles me, because it's like they much rather get their investments set up, because investments are sexy, right? But as a man and as a financial professional, it's hard to build someone's financial house. If something happened to the breadwinner in that house, those $1,000 investments are not going to matter to that family at that point. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands the importance of life insurance. So that's all my time. That's my slides. I'm done. If there's questions, I'm here for the questions. If not, it's good.
So Art, man, I just want to say, oh my God, apologize. You know how it is, Art. Whenever you
I
try
know
to
it's
do
all good.
something to bless the people with good information, there's always some issues, malfunction issues. We
No,
changed
it's all
platforms
good.
because we was limited on Zoom. We're trying to do things that's better for the community, and it just seems
Right,
like
right.
we can't get these bugs worked out. But I think what you said was very key to the people out there. I heard you guys uh, listen to what Art said. I know the slides was very small. I apologize to the people out there. But here's the great thing. Brother Art is available. We're going to have him give you guys his phone number, his email address, how to get a hold of him, his website, or all of
Mm.
his social media handles, because you could book a personal consultation with him and get the information if you missed anything. But I think the key thing to hold in people out there was start investing early. I try to educate people that the earlier, the better. The later you wait, you have to take more risks. You have to be more aggressive in your investment. And as you get older in your working years, you really don't be wanting to have to put your money in that type of risk. And I always try to tell people the later you wait, you're getting up in age, you're getting close to retirement. You don't want to put that much risk on your money. You rather take the risk while you're young. As you get older, you want to kind of back down to the medium risk stocks and things of that nature and mutual funds. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you, I see a couple people saying some things about the mutual funds, because I always hear people and they talk about the mutual funds. Every account when you start investing has its pluses and minuses. But one of the issues that I have with mutual funds, there's a lot of service fees.
Mm.
So when you start getting into mutual funds, there's a lot of service fees, and those maintenance and evaluation fees over time, sometimes over the 30-year span, can cost you $200,000-$300,000 a year. I typically tell people to stay in index funded accounts over the long haul, a little bit less fees to the service people. But
So
each
you want me to
person has
answer?
their own. That's what I'm asking you.
You want me to answer
I
that?
do
So
a
let me
first.
so let me give you a scenario, right? So let's go back to your point of mutual funds having fees. So do you know what the average fee is for a mutual fund?
Say it again.
You know what the average fee is?
It could be anywhere from. It varies. I've seen them go from 3% to 6%, five
Okay.
percent. It just depends.
So the max any mutual fund could charge is, I think, is 8% still.
Yeah,
Most
something like
mutual most mutual funds charge what we call a front end load, which is 5.75%. And if you invest in $100, that's $5. So if you
that.
invested, hold on, it's $5. There's, but that's how the professionals get paid, right? So if I'm sitting down with a client and I'm taking my time to set up their program for them, don't you think I should get paid? I
But
mean,
right. So
I'm getting paid $5. You see what I'm saying? But over that, I wish I could share my screen, because I did a hypothetical to kind of like show you what you could expect to pay in fees over a 30-year period, and it's nowhere near hundred thousands of dollars in fees.
I mean, it depends on what your investments is. I have mutual
Mhm.
funds. I mean, you start getting over $500,000. those costs add up. You know, you
Nah,
start.
so when you get that high, you typically move to what we call managed accounts. And managed accounts is when you, because it's funny because people always tell me they got a financial advisor, and I'm like, well, you don't even have $250,000. How you got a financial advisor? Because most financial advisors, that's their minimum for them to manage is a
Right.
$250,000. So typically, when you get to a certain threshold, there's a different program that you need to be aligning yourself with. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And that's how you build wealth, right? What you start with may not be what you need to end with either. But that's why it's important to have a financial professional. My job is not to keep you in something that's not going to benefit you. My job is in the SEC made it a point that my job is do what's on the best interest of the client. They literally just came out with new regulations that literally say you got to do what's on the best interest of the client. And
But
before it was something a little bit different, but yeah, go ahead,
so,
John.
so,
And then
so
hold
my
on,
thing.
wait. But going back to index funds. Index funds are the most conservative investment strategy, period. So now you have a situation where your money might not even be growing at the clip you need it to grow at too. So you're losing purchasing power. So I mean, there's pros and cons. Depending on where you are in your investment life will determine which strategy you need to take. That's why
Right.
one size don't fit all. That's why you got to have a strategy for your money versus, well, I tell people getting index funds. Well, if I'm 21 years old, why would I be invested in index funds? I need to be invested in something that's aggressive because I have time on my side. I can stomach the ups and downs because I don't need the money for another 15 plus years versus someone who's 56 years old and they want to retire at 59 and now they're in something aggressive. That doesn't make sense because at 2 years later, what if we had a bad year? Now that person who had $1 million just lost 20%. Now they only have 800,000. So it's really dependent on where someone is at in their financial journey. Once
Right.
again, we go back to those phases: your accumulation phase, your preservation phase, and your distribution phase. Depending on where you at on those phases, typically determines where you need to be investing your money at.
So I'm gonna give you that. So
Mm.
I just want you to know, and I want to make it clear, talk about financial advisors out there. I'm not hating on your money, okay?
No, no, no,
I
no.
have to
Listen,
be real, but
hey,
when
no.
you make a statement, when you make a statement that we're doing the best interest for the people, we're
Hmm.
talking about our people, new people coming in here, okay?
Yeah,
When I
yeah, yeah.
walk in off the streets, there's no investment firm that's going to tell me to go to index funded accounts. They don't promote it. But if you look and do your research, every successful CEO, Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, if you look at their portfolios, 89% of their portfolios are indexed in fund accounts. So why is that, Art? I need to
You
know.
know why?
Why is all the millionaires in the world have
Because
indexed in
they're
fund?
they're high net worth individuals. That's
I
why.
don't think so.
No,
I,
no.
I
When you no. See, that's the catch 22 about social media and living in the information age. We see successful people doing something and think that it works for everybody. No, it works for them because they're at a certain point in their life. Warren Buffett didn't accumulate wealth because he was investing in index funds. He's at a certain point where now he needs something that's kind of more of so close to those guarantees. So his money could keep turning over because he has so much of it. You see what I'm saying?
so
So
this is both sides of the conversation,
no, no,
Art.
no, no. It's all good.
I
But see,
gotta play both
no, no,
sides.
no.
Because
Listen, listen, listen.
I have 80% of my portfolio index funds, and I'm doing just great. And I know people
Uh,
who have mutual funds that are taking hits every day. I see it.
no, no. Well, see, that's just the thing. See, I'm glad you brought that up because once again, depending on where those people are invested, they may not be invested where they need to be invested. You see what I'm
That's
saying?
true.
It's not that cut and dry. Oh, I got index funds. I'm doing great. Okay, well, let me give you some context. Last year, 2020, me personally, I seen a 46% rate of return. All right. This year, 2021, I'm up 86%. Most index funds ain't nowhere near that. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
But at
so,
the
so,
peak,
but
at the
wait,
peak,
hold on.
when
Now,
we have a reset,
no,
you're
hold on.
gonna get hit. You're gonna get hit.
Listen, but guess what, John? I don't need the money today. So
That's
as
true.
I'm systematically investing, so as things going down, my money goes further. You see what I'm
That's true.
saying?
But
So
we're talking
if
to
it's
the
up,
people of our community, Art.
no,
People are
the people of our
mid-age.
the
Our
people of
our
our community.
followers are in that 40 to 45 age
Nah,
range.
listen,
They
listen.
get there. Okay, they
they
got to
still
make
got
the
20.
smart decision.
Listen, they still got 20 more years for planning, right? But once again, we're talking to our people, and those are the things that scare our people away from investing because they're focused on it going down versus focusing on systematic investing. So when as things are going down, your money goes further. But if every time we hear something negative about the market and we think it's a bad thing, shit, it's not a bad thing, man. It's actually a great thing that your money could go further. Once again, using a house analogy, if the house you really, really wanted today costs $1 million, but then 2 years from now it costs $750,000, well, you'll be a fool not to buy that $750,000, right? It's the same thing with investing. As the market starts to have a reset and it goes down, guess what? Your $100 that you invest in a month is going to actually start going further than it's doing when the market is up. The problem is that when our people see the market, they're investing with the headlines versus investing with their head, and that starts with making sure that they have an actual plan. When you don't have a plan, you plan to fail, right? So if you don't have a plan, you see the headlines, what you're gonna do? You're gonna panic because you're getting all this different information. When I called all my clients in March 20th, when the market was at its worst, all my clients said, "Man, why are you calling me? I am not tripping. Leave me alone. Enjoy your evening." Because they have a plan, they have a strategy, and all they're doing is following the strategy that I set up and set in front of them. And it wasn't something that I said they need to do, it's something that we work together on doing. My job is to educate people. Once people get educated, they can make an informed decision. My job is not to say, "John, you need to do this because if you don't do this, it's not going to work," or "You need to do this because it's going to work." Nah, my job is to ask the right type of questions. My job is to ask you your investment objectives and really figure that out. And then from there, I could put a plan together for you.
And I agree with you. Just do me a favor, Art. When our people come to see you, make
Uh,
sure you tell them we're going to make sure 65% of your portfolio is in index funded accounts. The other half, we're going to put in mutual funds and bonds. Help my people out. Make sure that they get the proper thing. Because you know what I'm tired of, Art? I'm
uh,
tired of my people working hard, our city and county workers, our state workers. They get to the age of retirement and they can't retire, and I want to make sure that people get the right information over the long haul. And I think there's enough in mutual funds that can help people to drive, and
mm,
our professionals can still make income off of it. But I want to preach this, and I hope all our financial planners are out there. As the Black community comes to visit your office,
mm.
please make sure that 65% of their portfolio are indexed in funds over the long haul so that they can be successful at the end of the road. That's all I'm asking.
Nah, see, that right there is it's confusing, right? Because then you would have someone who sells insurance telling them that they have an index universal life insurance plan as well. And John said, "Well, man, I need to have something that's indexed." And now
Well,
they got something
I
like,
don't tell them. I tell my people get
but
term
see,
policy.
but
I
see,
tell them get
but no,
term
listen, but
policy.
see,
We don't
look how
want whole
confusing.
life.
But look how confusing that could be now, because you just literally sat here on the platform and said get index. And if a life insurance person say, "Hey, I got this index plan for you," what do you think they're gonna do?
But life insurance is totally different than investing in
I
stocks.
listen. I
So
know that.
for all the
I
people
no no
listening,
you
if
no
you
no
want
you
life
know.
insurance, please, if you want life insurance, get a term policy. My
I can
people
help with
get a
that too.
term policy. Art can help you with that. Art, please do not sell my people whole life policies and none of this index funded policies, okay? We want to help the people. And we
Right.
know whole life policies, 92% or something like that, our people get priced out by the hijack of premiums. So we got to be honest. Like, one thing about me is I'm not going to sell my people crap, right?
Mm.
And I'm not a financial advisor. I've did a lot of research, okay, people? I've done this. I teach a financial literacy class. I invest. I would never put my money in a whole life policy, okay? So when y'all call Art up, Art covers everything, investments, life insurance. Tell Art, John Henry said, I want a term 30-year life insurance policy
That's
for
all I
about $2
sell.
million, and it's only going to cost you about $99 a month. You got $2 million coverage at $99 a month for a term life insurance. And when you go to sign up with Art to do your investments, tell Art you want 65% of your investment in index funded accounts. And I guarantee you'll be happy.
Oh gosh.
It's both sides of the conversation,
Once
Art.
again, it's all about someone's risk tolerance, right? An index account might not allow them to meet their risk goals, right?
That's
So
true.
It's all depending on who you're sitting in front of, because just like how John is saying, it works for him. It may not work for Art. It may not work for who's on here, Alexis. It may not work for somebody else. So my job is not to tell you what to do. My job is to figure out what is your stated objectives. What is your goal? How long you want to do this? How would you feel if your money went down 10%? How would you feel if your money went down 30% in the next 3 months? Things like that will help me be able to make sure that I put you into the right strategy. You see what I'm saying? So it's
I
not
would
about,
definitely agree with you.
yeah,
I would
it's
agree
all
with you
about
on that.
education, man.
So Art is going to help y'all out, people. Please call the brother. But I'm gonna talk to him. He's gonna get you set up right. We're gonna make sure you set right because I'm about making sure my people get the right information, the right support. If you one of those people out there that got millions of dollars you could blow, that's fine. Do what you want to do. But for my people, I'm talking from the people that's thinking about investing, trying to get into investment. Maybe you've been working for a city job for 5 years. You got a 403B, 457, 401k. I want to make sure you get off to the right start to protect yourself over the long haul so that it's worth it, because I would hate for you to get in it and you take a hit and everything that you work so hard for is instantly removed. Stocks and
Um,
bonds are great, but I
So
think we
can I interject real quick?
go
So
ahead.
no. Everything you're saying is absolutely correct. The problem is that when someone get these jobs, they don't realize that they got to change their objective strategy as they getting closer and closer to the time they want to start taking out their money. And that's not the employer's fault. It's really the employee's fault because they set their objectives, right? And that's the downside of trying to do everything yourself.
Right.
Um,
But
once you get to a certain age, your investment strategy needs to change because you're in a different phase of your money life.
right.
That same
And,
strategy at 21 is not going to be the same strategy at 55.
and
It shouldn't
you
be.
guys, Art is right about that. And that's why Art's on here tonight to educate you. The employers, if you work for the city and county, if you work for the state, their retirement plans, they're not going to give you this information. I'm going to be honest because they're doing their investments. And like he said, they're building their strategies for tax purposes. So they're not going to educate you. They're going to put you on some plan. Most people, I watched this survey. Most people who work for city and county and states, 53% of them don't even invest into their own 401k. They just say, hey, I work here. My employer's putting this money in my account, and they don't even invest, right? So we're trying to get
Yeah,
people to invest. Let's just be honest. We got to be, I mean, Art, you know what I'm talking about. These
yeah.
corporations, these HR people are not educating their employees how to set up their future.
It's
So
not their
definitely,
job though. That's the thing we forget. It's not their job to worry about. Their job is just to implement and have these plans available. It's literally I mean, that's the downside of living in the information age because there's people online who will tell you that oh, investing in 401k are bad so it's like you got all this information going like this. And then they don't have no financial professional because they go to YouTube University, they go to Instagram University, Facebook University, and they don't have nobody that could literally sit down with and plan something specific to their life.
right.
And that's why so many people, fall up short. I had a client who came to me. She was in her 50s and she was like, oh, I want to retire in 5 years. So in my mind, I'm doing like this, like, oh, she got some money because she about to retire in 5 years. And then she hit me with the news that she had like $15,000. Can you help me? And in my mind, again, I was like, she got to start somewhere. You see what I'm saying? And even though I had to break it to her, like, well, you may have to delay your retirement because $15,000 is not going to get to where it needs to get to in order for you to live based off your current lifestyle. And that's the other thing. Once people get in retirement, we call that your go-go years because now that you have all this freedom, you're gonna go here, you're gonna go there, you're gonna go everywhere. So you're gonna be spending a lot more money once you get into that
Right.
phase of your life. But then after a few years, them go-go years tend to start going down to your slow-go years. Now you kind of got into your groove, you know what you're doing and things like that. So once again, it's having a strategy. It's having someone that you could like if you wanted to start a business in construction, or no, if you wanted to open up a barbershop, but you ain't never cut no one's hair, how could you open up a successful barbershop? Well, I just hired all the barbers and someone because I wanted to open up a barbershop. And my barber said, well, until you get barbers, who gonna cut hair? Blew my mind away. Like, damn, I didn't think about that. Because you're not gonna automatically just get new barbers. But But if you go into that with a plan, like, hey, I'm gonna have these barbers, I'm gonna hire these barbers, I'm gonna have them on standby. So when I open up my establishment, boom, I got 4 barbers cutting hair, so on and so forth. The likelihood of me having a successful barbershop just went up versus me just never cutting hair a day in my life. Like you have to be educated in the field in what you want to be successful with. If you want to be successful in growing your wealth, you have to be educated in that. And once again, if all the information is going like this, it's kind of hard for you to know what works best for you. Like John said, well, Warren Buffett and this person has index funds. Well, I'm not a billionaire, right? So I can't speak on why billionaires do that. Besides, I know why, because they're high net worth individuals. It's a strategy that works best for them. But if I'm a 21-year-old and go back to the illustration of just saving $100 a month for 30 years, by the time I'm 50 years old, I'll have over $500,000. I'll be 50 in 11 years. I don't know too many people who are going to be 50 got over $500,000. It's because they all started late. I mean, you and I mean, we don't count, man. This is why we're on the show. This is why we're hosting the shows.
No, what you said is very true. And people, believe me, you do have to talk to somebody who knows, and that's why it is a blessing that Art was able to come on. He's one of us, real dude, giving it to you straight. Like, honestly, you have to get the help, right? And it is a lot of people, man. And that story that you just told me, this is why both sides of the conversation started this Educational Thursday. Believe me, I work in the industry where I've seen my African American people go up to retirement. They work for a company for 30 years, work for the city for 30 years. And this thing that Art is talking about is not a joke. It's real. Like, people go and retire, and it's like, I got $20,000. Like, how are you going to retire? Like, over and over. And it's like, when I talk to my people, and I'm like, what happened? Like, why weren't you investing? Like, I didn't know. Like, the company told me that they was putting the money in there. They said they was taking 8% out of my check. I thought that's what it was. And I'm like, no, you gotta. So again, this is the purpose of Educational Thursday.
Right.
Like, this is why we are trying to give the information to our community, because this information we're not getting, but our counterparts in other communities are getting this at a young age. They are educating their young kids at a young age. This thing that we call financial literacy is happening in other households, but it's not happening in the Black and brown households. Okay. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to find out, because when I started doing the research and finding out why is it such a wealth disparity, why is my people not climbing the financial ladder, why are we not getting over the hump, why are we not owning homes and businesses, why are we not growing, it all comes back to information, people. We don't connect with the right people and understand what's really important. We have cable. We have 5 cell phones. We go to the hair shop every week. We do all of these things. We buy Birkin bags and red bottoms and Gucci. We support everybody else except our households. And we get to an age of retirement and we find out all of those investments that we wasted our money on has done nothing for us. So tonight is the night. If you don't know, if you want more information, reach out to this brother Art. Reach out to some of our other financial advisors. Get some help. It's okay. Don't be ashamed. See, our people have a pride thing. We don't want to tell people where we at and what's going on. You have to sit down with somebody, like Art said, get a plan. You got to put a blueprint together so that you can succeed in the future when it comes to this thing called financial wealth. And we have to do it. And like he said, our people die the most, but we don't have the insurance to share the generational wealth. Me and Rico has been preaching every Educational Thursday when we have people coming on talking about insurance. Every day our people are being murdered in the streets, things happening, and we have people. I just drove down the street. Somebody had a sign out there, a GoFundMe, please donate to bury my son. We can't do this no more, Black community, brown community. We cannot do this anymore. We got to cut down the cable bill for $99 a month. You could get a $2 million life insurance plan for your kid, for yourself. We have to do it.
You got to be healthy. You got to be healthy, though.
You got to be healthy.
You got to be healthy. And anything over 500,000, you got to go through a little bit more testing to make sure. Because once again, you paying $99, you die the next week. They want to make sure you healthy.
Yeah, no, they're gonna check you. I mean, everything is definitely checked.
They're gonna make sure man.
But even if you're not healthy, you can still get term policies up to $500,000 for a reasonable price a month. without. So it's just something that we got to do because
Yeah.
our people are. This is what our people do. This is why y'all should call Art about the life insurance because I know he does that as well. We go to these jobs, Art, and they offer
Mm,
us life insurance. And I hear this all the time, even my own people. Oh, I
mm,
got life insurance at the job. Well, what happened if you lose the job? That life insurance is gone, right? Now you're not protected. I tell all my people, I don't care if your job offer it, please get your own personal policy, preferably while you're young. Because typically
mm,
what happens is as we get older, these companies that offer the life insurance is typically when we start getting laid off and things happen at a higher age and we lose out. So have your own
yeah.
policy, get it young, get it early, put it in your budget. Y'all know I've been preaching about budget, 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 budget. Forget the cable bill. Make sure life insurance is part of it. Number two, make sure you're trying to get 15% of your gross income invested. Preferably start off with Roth IRAs, right? Take the tax now. And the reason why you want to do that is because later on when you retire, if you want to take out a large sum of money, it doesn't affect your overall income because you pay the taxes on it now. Pre-tax accounts, 403s, 403bs, 457s, you don't pay the tax now, you pay it later. As we know in California, the taxes will only increase over the years, and that's more money you lose. So be smart with your money.
Can I
Call
can I
Art.
can I
Call
interject real
Art.
quick because
Okay,
that
Art.
that that also can scare people too when they feel like they gotta pay taxes, right? And I try to tell people you only pay taxes on the money you're gonna take out. So let's not think you're gonna be paying 30%, 40% because people be telling me like, man, I'm gonna have to pay. Nah, man, if you're taking out $50,000, man, what tax bracket you fall into? That's how much taxes you're gonna pay on it. And once again, I'm not a tax advisor, so make sure you consult with your tax advisor. But that's some basic information that I can share. Another thing about the Roth IRAs that John stated that when you do reach a certain age, you do not have to pay taxes on your withdrawals. Another benefit is that you could use up to $10,000 of that money for first-time home buyer as a down payment. So don't always look at it. Like I said, it's all about objectives and goals because your goal may be I want to buy a house in 5 years, and you putting this money into this Roth IRA that's growing. You can now use up to $10,000 of it as your down payment. So if you go through a FHA plan that has down payment assistance and you got this Roth IRA that got, $10,000 in there, you could literally use that and don't have to pay no tax consequences on
Yeah.
that money for taking it out early. So
Now, Art, do you do 529s as well? College
uh
planning?
yeah, I actually I do. And when I sit down with clients, I always ask them like, are you 100% sure your child is going to go to college? I know you want the child to go to college, but your child may be like me and at 18 want to start a real estate business. So once again, it's all about those objectives, right? So there's other avenues that a parent can invest money into for their child that is not strictly for higher education like a 529 plan is. So you have an UTMA or UGMA account where you could put money into that for your child or for your children that when they reach the age of maturity, they can use their money however they see fit because once they turn 18 or 21, depending on what state you're in, it's their money. So if that child has the entrepreneurial spirit and wants to start a business, oh shit, they got money to start their business now versus not having. See, it's all about giving them the advantages that we didn't have. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I was a young parent and I was a single father to that child at the age of 19. I wasn't going to school. I was raising a child. So, but if my mom would have had some money set aside for my college education, I would have missed out on it because guess what? I didn't go to school. So it's kind of like the pros and cons to both of them, right? The UTMA account, you're gonna have some tax consequences as well, or that child is gonna have tax consequences when they want to touch their money. Versus a 529 plan, it's no tax consequences if they're using it for higher education and other educational expenses.
Yeah, that's good information, man. I'm proud. So it's a question up here. Alexis Y says, "Do you do guest speaking? Would you? We would love to get him to Marin. So can you please tell people how to get a hold of you? I know we're getting close to ending this. Give them your number, give them your
Uh,
email, your website, your social media handles, so these people
I
could
can
get a
put it
hold of
in the chat. So the easiest email to get a hold of me is AB the manager. That's Alpha Beta THE M as in Mary ANAGER. So literally AB the manager at gmail.com. And then my phone number is 415-724-9071.
you. There y'all go. That's how y'all got to get a hold of Art.
And
If you
Alexis,
can't
I
get a
have been in
hold of him,
Marin. I have been in Marin. So I was in Marin City last. Oh, was it last year? I think it was last year before COVID hit. I was in Marin City, and I did a seminar with this credit expert. who was talking about credit repair and things like that, and then I was talking about debt resolution. Because once again, we live in a world where people want to have good credit just to go buy a nice car, a nice house, and all these things that they could potentially lose because they don't have a debt resolution strategy. You buy a house, you buy a car, you should know how to pay it off as quickly as possible versus the a lot of time that they tell you have to pay. You know, you could pay a 30-year mortgage in 15 years. You know, you could pay a 7-year car note in 3.5 years. So there's strategies, but if you know how to get the credit and get the debt, but no one teaching you how to get out of debt, you're missing the mark. That's the number one threat to your financial freedom. If you got to keep paying Paul, Peter, or Wells, Chase, Bofa, if you got to keep paying them, then you're missing out on not paying yourself. So
It's called discipline. You take out debt. You got to sit in the house. No clubs, no red bottoms, no traveling. Pay off your debt. But hey, all I can say is thanks for the presentation. I apologize for the share screen issue.
it's
This
all
is a new
good.
platform. We're going to go raise some hell with them because I'm having a lot of issues getting this thing together. But you guys know, anytime you're changing, you're trying to do something great to impact your community, there's always this negative energy trying to stop our community from thriving. But we won't stop. We'll keep working out the bugs and we'll figure out. And if we have to change platforms, that's what we're going to do until we make sure our people get everything they need with this educational presentation and our community conversations. If y'all can't get a hold of Art, we're going to replay this, or you forget the number, or you didn't write it down. You guys can reach out to us at both sides of the conversation. Go to leave a message on our website and just say, hey, I'm trying to connect with Art. We'll get you connected with him. Thank you, Art, for giving us your time tonight, brother. I think the information you gave was real. I know you're a good brother, so I know you're going to be making sure everybody get that index funded account. Urban shit.
Oh God.
I gotta give my brother some juice, man. This is both sides of the conversation. You know, I'm always gonna
Oh
fight for
God.
my people and make sure it's right. But go support our brother Art. He's definitely knowledgeable when it comes to his finance. He definitely gives a lot of gems. He gives a lot of information. If y'all follow him on Facebook, he sometimes posts great stock information in our group. That's really good. Actually, a couple of stock tips he gave me helped me out. So thank you, my brother, because I made a few dollars off a couple of your stock tips. Uh, but definitely, he's a good brother, very knowledgeable. He is definitely about making sure people get out of the state that they're in into a better state. So definitely give him a chance, give him an opportunity. One thing in our community, we have to trust each other and believe and make sure that we're set up so that we can have a great financial future. Please get life insurance. I'm going to keep saying it, but we had another young person killed again. And, you know, these families are getting hit financially. People don't understand not having life insurance can set a mother or a grandmother or a family in financial ruin. The cost
Right.
to bury somebody is very expensive, especially in this COVID time. And believe me, they will come after the family for that debt that's not paid after the funeral. So, with that being said, everybody, we're going to go ahead and end this show.
Hey John, John,
Go ahead.
could I give them one little tidbit
Go
about
ahead.
financial
Go ahead.
advisors?
Go ahead.
I know you said something about we got to trust our people and things like that, right? Do you know black financial advisors and black hedge fund portfolio managers outperform their white counterparts?
Oh yeah, definitely. But you
So
know what? But you know what, Art? I know this. But
yeah,
you know
no,
what
but
happens? You know what
I had
happens
to
though,
say
Art?
that. I had to
We
say it
have
because
1% of people like you in this industry. So I've been going on to all these meetings and people talking about getting our people to work in construction and different things. And I've been pushing. I've been telling these people I'm on the calls. We got to get our black people in this financial realm. And
yeah.
I know this for a fact. I know two brothers,
Mm,
very successful in the financial markets. And again, they don't like to see us shine. They get the information, but Art is saying something that is very factual.
mm,
Most of the black and brown people that are in financial institutes are the high performers. But the sad part is, it's a very small percent of us. And sometimes I feel like they don't want us to see the financial wealth. We spend the most money, but they don't want us to make the most money. I
yeah,
think it's
it
like,
goes back to that trust, though, man.
yeah,
A sister or brother much rather go to someone with the last name of Lebowitz or Swartz or Schultz. You know, I mean, due to slavery, my last name is Burton. So if you just see Burton, you're like, oh, he's a white guy. So and then Arthur or Art, oh, like, oh yeah, he's for sure. Oh, then they see me like, oh, he a brother.
Yeah.
But that's
See,
how it be though.
see, your parents, she didn't prepare for the college for you, but
Hey,
she gave you the name to make sure you make the money, though. You got
hey,
something
man,
out of it.
I got every interview I ever went on. I got it. I got the interview.
Right,
I
right,
only had
right,
5 jobs ever in my life,
right.
so
She didn't name you Little Ray Ray or Pookie, okay? She got you in the dough,
nah,
right?
nah, you did.
The moms and pops did a great job. Hey, what a phenomenal guy, you guys. Hey, Art, thanks again for coming on, man. I appreciate you because, part of this building this community and doing what we're doing, it's about networking and it's about giving back, man. And everybody
Yeah,
that come on and do these presentations, this is a volunteer thing. And this is just to show you guys the love that Art has for his community and he want to see us do better. Just like everybody that comes on here and present, they know the struggles, they know the
right,
informational gaps, and they just trying to make sure that we get the information so we could better achieve and better, do prosperous things in this financial realm. But it does take trust. You have to be open and you have to speak, and you also
mhm,
have to apply the knowledge. It does Art no good if you come here and listen and you don't pick up the phone and call them. Just like we had our sister Karen Roy on here, she said all you got to do is pick up the phone and call. Call this brother today. Get set
mhm,
up. Sit down and talk to him. Let him see your financial situation. Don't be embarrassed if you made the wrong mistake before. It's better to come to him now, open up, get the
yeah,
information you need so he can steer you in the right way. Because I'm tired of seeing my people retiring 30, 40 years on the job, and these people still have to work or go to Walmart and work because they didn't understand what they needed to do, why they was working, why they was saving, investing. So thank you again, my brother, for coming on.
no
I'll make
problem.
sure anybody that contact us through our both sides of conversation, we connect them to you, make sure they get to you, and we just go keep on promoting your information. So thank you, brother, for coming on tonight.
It was my pleasure.
All right, right on, brother. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and close this thing out. We have a phenomenal conversation coming on this Sunday. We're going to have Karen Fletcher, Chief Karen Fletcher of Adult Probation San Francisco, coming on to talk about some of the services that the adult probation is providing to people in our community on probation. This is going to be a great community conversation. This is the time to ask questions. I know in our community we are the highest impacted with incarceration when it comes to these situations. So this Sunday will be the time for you to ask the questions. How do we fix this system? We know that this system is broken, but she is at least doing her part, her and her team, Steve, to make sure when people are coming back in our community, they have the right resources, they have the right things needed so that they can stay productive individuals in our community to make sure that they can sustain the lifestyle that they need to be out here. Nothing's perfect, but they're making the attempt, and she's going to come on and talk to us, her and Steve. I think it's going to be a phenomenal conversation. Hopefully, you guys will be able to join us this Sunday. I think it's going to be great just to ask these questions because we understand both sides of this. There's one side where they are making impact and making change, and then we know the other side where we're being heavily impacted with incarceration, and we understand that this probation and parole thing has failed the people, and sometimes it's been a negative impact to our community. Or when someone comes back and trying to make the right change, they have monetized the parole and probation system to increase the incarceration with this mass incarceration that's going on across the country. It's no fair thing to have young people catching these cases, making a bad decision on parole probation for 10, 15 years, 5 years. It's just ridiculous. It's just a way for these institutions to make money off the back. Modern day slavery, it's a bad thing. I'm glad that the world is waking up and finding out some of these systems and things that's in place has impacted our Black community in a way that we can never get that time back. But at least we have somebody that is trying. She is an ally of our community. She wants to see things better. She's doing everything in her power to make sure that our community is impacted in a positive way when dealing with probation or re-entry into our community. So phenomenal conversation this Sunday. And then this Tuesday, we'll follow right back up with another week of hidden gems, some fresh new faces, some different people that's doing some different things in our community. I think it's going to be another great week. Y'all know hidden gems is like me and Rico's favorite thing because it's the positivity, it's the things that keep us going and uplifted, just to see people doing remarkable things in our community, impacting our community in ways that have been impacted. And those type of things we need to see, hear, and breathe. So looking forward to that segment. And we're just going to keep rolling this thing out. And tonight we're going to work out these bugs. I am so sorry to everybody. His PowerPoint presentation didn't go as planned. And sorry to Art again. We're just going to work this thing out. But you guys know when you change, things happen. And we're trying to work all these problems and bugs out. It just takes time. But we'll get there with the support of community, with the love of community, with the compassion and understanding of you all. We'll get there. Just hang in there, be tight. We're trying to do things right. but with doing it right, it takes a little time. So with that being said, don't forget, if you need some access, you need some information, go to our website, both sides of the conversation. You can hit us at www.bsotc.org. It'll get you there as well. That's where all of our information is, our previous hidden gems, our previous educational Thursdays, our previous Sunday conversations, some phenomenal conversations. Maybe you missed out. You can see some of the people we've had on in the past. You can see some of the educational services and presentations that people put on in the past. Just phenomenal information. And we thank you guys for continuing to support us. It's a long road, but we'll get there. Keep your heads up through this pandemic. We will get to the promised land. We will get to the finish line, as they say. We just got to keep marching, and that's what we're going to do here at both sides of the conversation, is continue to march this information with empowering and impacting our community the way that we do. We love y'all. We see y'all. Don't forget to click and donate. And don't forget, we got our both sides of the conversation hats. $50 donation. Beautiful hats, California edition. Please support us. Get a hat. Get some of our swag. We got some hoodies coming. We got some different items that's going to be coming. All of these are donation based to help us build capacity to make this platform better so that we don't have these type of issues with PowerPoints and things of that nature. It costs money, but thank you for helping us and supporting us. We love y'all. We're going to see you guys on Sunday. Have a blessed